Now look at verse 4. The Father, because he gave me of his fullness, and the Son, because I was in the world and made flesh my tabernacle and dwelled among the sons of men. Here Jesus seems to be shifting into this discussion of how he is both Father and Son. We've talked before in the Book of Mormon year about how Jesus, the Son of God, becomes the everlasting Father. As Isaiah uses that phrase to describe him, he becomes the Father of our spiritual rebirth, the Father of our resurrected body. He engenders life in our eternal life, the Father of our eternal life. It all comes through his infinite atonement that pays the price to redeem us from death and hell. So he's giving us this description of how he's both the Father, because he gave me of his fullness. Jesus represents the Father, but he's also the Son because he made flesh his tabernacle. Look at verse 5. I was in the world, and I received of my Father, and the works of him were plainly manifest. And John saw and bore record of the fullness of my glory, and the fullness of John's record is hereafter to be revealed. It's interesting, back in section 27, Joseph Smith, through the Urim and Thummim, was shown a parchment with some writings of the Apostle John that we don't have in the Bible. And there in section 27, he translated that, and here we're told we're going to get a fullness of John's record. Interestingly, earlier prophets and apostles in church history read section 93, and they believed that we were talking about the record of John the Baptist, because many of the things that are now going to unfold here in section 93 are things that are included in John chapter 1, but it makes it look an awful lot like John the Apostle, John the Beloved, John the Revelator, is giving us the story of, initially in John chapter 1, of John the Baptist. Now, whichever John and John's record he's talking about here is far less important to me than knowing what that record contains and the truths that are there to help you and me move forward in greater faith following Jesus. Look at what we get here, verse 7. He bore record saying, I saw his glory, that he was in the beginning before the world was. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Fascinating. If you look in the Greek text for John 1, verse 1, there's a definite article that's added. So it would read, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the God. The God. The Word that we're talking about, this Logos, was with the God, which implies this exclusive nature of there is one ultimate God, and the Word happened to be with him, and the Word was God, and there's no definite article with that one in the Greek texts. So Jesus was a God who stood next to the God in the beginning. Notice verse 8, therefore in the beginning the Word was, for he was the Word, even the messenger of salvation. Are you seeing the connection between words and messenger? What is the message God is sending? Far better than any words he could have ever used was, let me communicate with you. Here's my son. Just behold him. Look at him, listen to him, watch him, do the things you've seen him do. That's my message to the whole world. That is our message as missionaries, as parents, as leaders in the church, is to point people to Christ. It's not to bring them to us. It's not to listen to our fancy words or drawings. All of those are a means to an end of trying to get people to recognize Christ, the Word, where the real power lies. He is the light. He's the light source. It's not us. It's nobody on this planet is the light source, not even the prophet. Everybody is a reflector of the light, and he gives unto us to be the light, but the light comes from him. Look at verse 9. The light and the Redeemer of the world, the Spirit of truth, who came into the world, because the world was made by him, and in him was the life of men and the light of men. It all comes back to him. Verse 10, the worlds, notice there's an S on the end of the word world. The worlds were made by him. Men were made by him. All things were made by him and through him and of him. That's a pretty good description of a father of creation. How the Son now becomes more like the Father in this powerful creation, in these powerful creation acts. Look at verse 11. I, John, bear record that I beheld his glory as the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth, even the Spirit of truth, which came and dwelt in the flesh, and dwelt among us.